familiar face, a harmless connection, or so it seemed. Because sometimes the most dangerous moments in a marriage aren't about what happens, but about what almost does. And when the front door opens at the wrong time, one decision will define everything that follows. It begins quietly, the way most important stories do, not with conflict, but with comfort. Two people who have been together for many years wake up each morning knowing exactly how the day will unfold. The same routines, the same shared spaces, the same unspoken understanding that this is what stability looks like. From the outside, everything appears settled, even fortunate. And for a long time, that belief feels true. The husband moves through his days with purpose. His calendar is full, his phone rarely silent. Work is not just a job. It is a responsibility, a promise he made long ago to provide and protect. The wife lives within the same rhythm, but experiences it differently. Her days are filled with repetition, predictable and efficient, yet increasingly hollow. Nothing dramatic happens. There are no arguments, no raised voices, no clear moment where something breaks. Instead, there is a gradual thinning of connection, questions left unanswered because the timing never feels right. She still believes in the life they built, but somewhere between mornings that rush by and evenings spent in parallel silence, she begins to feel unseen. Unplanned and unannounced life throws surprises. She unexpectedly ran into an old acquaintance, not by chance, but by coincidence. A familiar face from another chapter of her life, a calm, reserved, and refined person, a shared memory. Nothing more, nothing less. She is aware of herself throughout these moments. She notices her thoughts, questions them, and keeps clear boundaries. What she values most is not the interaction itself, but what it reveals. It highlights a contrast between being heard and being assumed, between attention that is automatic and attention that is intentional. At home, nothing is outwardly changed. The house remains orderly. Meals are shared, schedules align. But internally, something subtle has shifted. The wife begins to understand that silence is not neutral. It can protect peace, but it can also quietly erode connection when left unchecked. She doesn't place blame. She doesn't form accusations. Instead, she observes with honesty and restraint. Yet there is something grounding in that conversation. Not because it promises anything new, but because it reminds her of something old. What it feels like to be fully present in a moment. The conversations that follow are short and spaced apart, respectful and composed. They speak about ordinary things, work, time, how life seems to move faster than expected. There is no urgency, no secrecy, no hidden agenda, just recognition. The film isn't about wrongdoing, it's about awareness. About how easily good intentions can coexist with emotional distance. About how long-term relationships don't fail from a single mistake, but from small absences that go unnoticed. And most of all, it's about the moment when someone realizes that feeling empty doesn't mean something is broken, but that something needs attention before it is too late. As the days move forward in their familiar rhythm, the wife becomes quietly aware of subtle shifts, not of what is missing, but of what is shaping her emotions beneath the surface. Conversations are often postponed, promised for later, and later rarely comes. Evenings are shared yet divided, filled with updates rather than connection. Nothing feels wrong, which makes it harder to name what feels incomplete. An acquaintance appears from time to time, never intrusive, never overstepping. Their exchanges are brief and restrained, yet their timing matters. They occur during pauses in her day, moments when she feels caught between obligations, wondering when life became more about managing time than living it. What unsettles her is not the person, but the mirror he unknowingly holds, listening fully, responding without distraction. These small gestures feel unfamiliar, not because they are extraordinary, but because they have slowly faded at home. Meanwhile, her husband remains focused and unaware. To him, stability means harmony. Silence suggests everything is fine. He believes consistency equals care, never realizing that emotional distance can grow even in steady routines. The tension arises not from conflict, but from contrast. Two people sharing a life while understanding it in different ways, both sincere, neither intending harm. A moment arrives that quietly shifts everything that came before it. A visit is suggested casual in tone, but heavy in implication. The wife hesitates, sensing that the risk is not wrongdoing, but misunderstanding. The home represents something shared and deeply personal. Allowing an outside presence into that space feels more significant than expected. When the man arrives, the atmosphere is restrained. The conversation is polite but guarded, shaped by the awareness that context changes meaning. Time stretches, and with it comes clarity. This is not the place for reflection, nor a moment to blur boundaries. Then the front door opens. The husband returns earlier than usual, stepping into a quiet tension he cannot immediately name. There is no confrontation, no raised voices, only a pause, long enough to reveal how easily perception can form, even when nothing improper has occurred. The wife responds with intention. She calmly ends the visit and asks the man to leave, guided not by fear, but by respect for her marriage, for clarity, and for herself. The situation resolves quickly, yet its impact lingers. The suspense lies not in what happened, but in what almost did. In the stillness that follows, reflection begins. The wife understands that her unease was not an invitation outward, but a signal inward toward conversation, presence, and reconnection. For the husband, awareness comes gradually. He begins to see that stability without engagement can quietly turn into distance. This story isn't about mistakes, it's about awareness. It reminds us that distance in a relationship doesn't appear overnight. It grows quietly, in moments when listening is delayed and connection is taken for granted. Sometimes, the strongest choice isn't following emotion, but protecting what truly matters. If this story made you reflect on communication, trust, or the value of everyday presence, take a moment to think about the conversations that matter most in your own life. And if you found meaning in this message, don't forget to like the video, share your thoughts respectfully in the comments, and subscribe for more stories that explore real choices, real consequences, and real growth.